Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. And to be honest, I was expecting to come here really happy, and I was going to say, you know what? We weren't playing well, but we got a result. But unfortunately, Manchester United have done a Manchester United and conceded at the very end of the game from a set piece, which means we now have to go to the San Siro defending. Well, we're not even defending a lead anymore. We have to contend with an away goal, which is a very tricky proposition, especially against a Milan team that have been strong defensively, and they look quite good today. Let's not lie. United were by no means convincing. We had our own chances, and we had chances that we really should have scored. Harry Maguire's chance, Daniel James's chance. It felt like miss a tap-in day at Old Trafford. And we probably should have scored those, and it becomes a different game. But in general, United's play was not good enough, and Milan probably got the goal they deserved in the end. They shouldn't have had their goal ruled out in the first half. It came off. I think it was his thigh, and then in his arm. The angle was off on the footage, so I'm not really sure. But apparently, it looked like it really wasn't handball. And to be fair, we should have gotten off that. The fact that United players didn't even protest the decision. So there was that. And in general, Milan played actually quite well. Diogo Dalot, of course, played against us. Obviously, that was interesting to see. And he actually had a good game, I thought. I thought he was the best Manchester United fullback on the pitch. He had a very good game. And in general, I thought a lot of you in the comments in recent videos have come to me and said, our problems are bigger than what I claim they are to be. Now, I've always said on this channel that at the minute, this season, this Manchester United team, I look at it and I think there's a severe problem with on-field decision-making and players having to take ownership a little bit more. Now, whether they do or do not in their private time, that's different. What they do in the dressing room's up to them. But the fan base doesn't seem to consider that. Now, these are professional footballers playing Premier League football, European-level football. The basics of in possession, which is move the ball quickly, shift opposition defense, create gaps, move off the ball, create space for your teammates, or find space for yourself. This is grassroots football stuff. This is stuff that I coach on a weekly basis, and I'm an FA level 1 working on a level 2 studying a uni degree. This is not something that needs to be coached to elite level footballers. So when you turn around to me and say it's a coaching problem, it's this, it's that, it's not just moving the ball quicker, it is. You saw that today. We were lethargic in possession. We had no intensity about our play, and we lacked a real ball carrier in midfield to progress it. I said on Twitter during the game that it didn't have to be anything fancy. It didn't have to be Hollywood passes. It had to be someone who was quick, simple, and efficient with the ball. That's what McTominay was trying to do, wasn't able to do it. It's what Fred tried to do when he came on, wasn't able to do it. That's the kind of player we're lacking. But I don't want to go on too much of a rant. We've got 5 guests ready to come on and give their opinions. Everyone, make sure to like the video. If we reach 25 likes, I will add some more of you to our prize draw for some awesome Football Town merch. So make sure to hit that like button. Once we reach 25 likes, I will get some of you involved in that draw. Until then, let's head over to our first guest. Mark is here. Mark, tell me how you're feeling. We didn't really deserve to win that, did we?
No, I think, if anything, Milan probably deserved at least a point. I think we were very lucky to come out of it. I mean, it is a real shame that it was the last minute we conceded, unfortunately. And we've made it very difficult for ourselves, going to Milan next week and trying to get a result. We can talk about our away form, but that isn't always a given. And we made it very, very difficult for ourselves tonight. It was very slow, very lethargic. I think Matic, he's a difficult one for me because last season I think he was very, very good. This season, I think he's really struggled. And I think that's why he probably hasn't got so much game time, especially since the Tottenham loss, which I won't talk about the scoreline. But it was really poor. I think, Fred came on and he didn't really do anything. He didn't bring that energy that we needed. He couldn't get any passes together whatsoever, and very, very disappointing. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk pre-game amongst ourselves as well that would Milan really offer anything, and I think we took it for granted, really. I think that, and I think United as a team did as well tonight. They looked very good. They didn't allow us to really create anything. They pressed us very well. They were very attacking, and whilst we thrived off that against Man City the weekend, we really struggled tonight. Very, very frustrated. In a positive note, Diallo, I mean, what a goal that was. Remind me very much of Robin Van Persie in 2014. I think that was nominated for the best goal, or won the best goal, wasn't it? And now I don't want to talk him up too much, but fair play to the kid. Fair play.
I did want to ask you about him, because obviously that is going to be the major talking point tomorrow. He would have got the headlines if it wasn't for that last-minute goal. His header did remind me a little bit of Javier Hernandez, the backwards header against Stoke that he did, of course.
Yeah.
But what did you make of him when he came on? Because he came on at half-time, which is probably earlier than most of us expected him to. What did you make of that decision, first of all? And then how did you think he did when he came on? What did he bring to the team?
Yeah, I thought he brought a bit more of a spark. I think he sort of, for the first 5-10 minutes, we looked a lot more dangerous. And I think that he was probably a big part in that. I think we were missing a Marcus Rashford tonight, a bit more of a player that can carry that ball, not from the midfield, but, go at the defenders, which we lacked a little bit of tonight. And I think that with him coming on, he was able to provide that, and it was just unfortunate after that first 10 minutes we didn't really see too much of him after. But that wasn't his fault. That was the team in general. We kind of sat back and couldn't create anything again. I just wish we'd come into that second half. I mean, it was good to see that Ollie made those changes early. We bang on every week about Ollie not making changes soon enough, and that was obviously a difference tonight. So fair play. Did they work out? Probably not. Only Diallo to a certain extent, but he does look exciting, and we should you're right. He would have taken the headlines, and he still should really. As Man United fans, we should still get behind him and look at the one positive that he was able to provide tonight. So this is his first senior appearance for us. Hopefully there'll be many more to come. And if he's going to make that some sort of impact going forward with exposure, with experience, then I'm all for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to ask you as well about the midfield, because that felt like sort of where we lost a grip of things. Because obviously Frank Kessié, who I talked big about before the game, I thought he was simply incredible. As John says, it seems worrying how Kessié bossed the midfield so easily. Would be a perfect signing for United. And I said just before the game ended that Fred, when he's on form, he is good, and I do like him, and I like the qualities he brings. But Kessié, I felt it for a while, but tonight was the first time I saw it very clearly that he is an upgrade on Fred. How good was Kessié for you today, and is that the area that we lost this game in, do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think we weren't able to dictate the play at all in that midfield, and I thought Kessié was very good. He, as I said earlier, they pressed us, won the ball back very well, put a lot of pressure on Fred. There were a couple of points where Fred, once he'd come on, sort of panicked a little bit. He received the ball, tried to run at them, and didn't get anything from that. And I think that was testament to AC. And I think they played the right game in that midfield, and we struggled. And I think we didn't really. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, you've got to rotate the team, and sometimes Matic is going to have to fill that void. But I feel that he really probably wasn't the right player. I mean, Fred would have been that right player, but as you've mentioned, he's not on form, and he hasn't been for a number of games now. And I think it would have been. Well, I'd like to think it would have been different if he was on a bit of form tonight and was able to dictate and provide that energy that he normally does. But I thought that they pressed us very well. I thought that they were first to the ball, closing down very well, and I think that that's where it was won and lost tonight, really. And as I said, I think we were lucky to really even get a 1-1. I think on the night, really, AC probably deserved to win.
Yeah, and finally, before we wrap up, the second leg, then we're away at the San Siro. We've got an away goal now to contend with. What kind of a game are you expecting in that? Because it's going to be a tough ask now, isn't it?
Well, as I like to say every week, I'd like to see us start on the front foot. I think we need to do that. But I think both teams, probably with the with what's at hand and at risk, I think that it could be quite a cagey game. I hope not, but I know that I think United will have in the back of their minds that it will that they don't want to lose their away record, and obviously that's a big talking point every time we play away at the moment. I think that obviously both sides are going to be pretty scared to potentially lose their place. And an away goal is always good to have. Fergie said this many times. He preferred to go abroad first, get an away goal or two, and then play at home after. And that really, and I said this a couple of weeks ago when we did the live draw reactions. That was a good thing for us. We wanted to. Oh, we played at home tonight, didn't we? I'm doing the number. Never mind. It's going to be a tough task, to go to San Siro. We've seen that many occasions, even Italian teams in the last few seasons, especially this season, they found it difficult to get a result. And I think that if we don't have some of the big boys come back, I think we were missing Pogba again. I think we could have done with a striker like Cavani again. And maybe even Van der Beek could have provided a bit more energy in that midfield again. So I think that if we don't have some of those big boys back, we might struggle. I hope that's not the case. I hope we go there and I hope we really, capitalise. But, we've made it very difficult for ourselves, haven't we?
A very tricky second leg coming up. Mark, thanks for coming on. Make sure to follow Mark on Twitter and everywhere else. And, of course, you'll see him here more often. So, see you in a bit, Mark. Cheers. Right, so that was Mark. We've got 4 more guests coming up. But before that, I want everyone who's watching, all 30 of you, to go like the video, because once we hit 25 likes, I will enter 5 more of you into our prize draw to win some Football Town merch. So go ahead and do that right now. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, head over to youtube.com/AllForUnited. Subscribe if you're new and hit the like button and get involved, because it doesn't take much time. Now, before we get to our next guest, I'll answer a couple of questions in the comments. Why was Fred playing as a number 10 and why did Ollie go to a back 3? Fred didn't play as a number 10 and we went to a back 3 because of the pressure that we were under. Simple as that. At that point of the game, it felt as though Milan were about to score, and that's what they ended up doing. So you can't really blame for him doing that. Maybe the change of Fred was it had to be done because something fresh had to enter, but he just didn't play well. That's simple as that. And obviously, you've got to think about the bench as well. It was very, very limited. Fred Woodward says, our midfielders are so poor on the ball, too many touches before releasing. In reality, we were lucky to draw the game. I completely agree with you. It's what I've said for absolutely months on this channel. This midfield is not good enough. It needs more. It's not terrible. It just needs more, because we can't be having the problem of when Pogba's not around, we don't have a progressive midfielder, a ball carrier. We need other players like him in this team. So that we have that strength and depth. Now we're showing that we rely on Pogba a lot to do that role, and it's a bit disappointing to see. Jarvis actually is going off the opposite. 1-1 is no disaster. Our away form is great. We'll win this on aggregate. So a little bit of positivity from Jarvis. I'm not sure a lot of people agree with you, but that's an interesting way to see it. I suppose 1-1 isn't terrible, but the away goal is a bit of a tricky one. We'll see what our second guest has to think. It's Barry. He's not been on the post-match for a long time. Welcome back, Barry. How are you doing? Do you agree with Jarvis?
I would say that you just don't know what United we're going to get. They are the epitome of a Jekyll and Hyde character. So, yes, we could go away and get a good result. We could go away and get a hiding. So I don't know. Don't know what we're going to get. But all I know is that tonight's performance was utterly diabolical. It was garbage.
And why do you think that is? Because everyone can simply say that, but what do you pinpoint it on?
I'll tell you why. Firstly, if you analyse the game, the weakest part of our game was our passing. The passing was absolutely terrible. They could not thread 2 passes together, and our midfield were the most guilty of that. We missed 2 absolute sitters. Maguire and James are guilty of absolute profligacy. They should have scored and taken those chances. And at the end of the game, in our team, we had 2 left backs, 3 holding midfielders. the whole shape of the team was utterly dreadful. And quite frankly, we didn't have anybody else to bring on. So we had one moment of absolute magic, and we should be praising the youngster Diallo. In fact, his header reminded me very much of Chicharito's header against Stoke a few years ago, where he twisted in the air and kind of gave a back header. It was a moment of brilliance from Bruno because he threaded in a good pass. But at the end of the evening, we can't complain because we certainly didn't deserve to win the game. And they had the better chances. They were better on the ball. They looked more urgent, more aggressive. And I think tactically we were utterly inept. Nothing going wide down the flanks. James had a poor game. Greenwood had a poor game. And I think the only reason Diallo was introduced at half-time is Martial looked injured. I don't think that was a calculated substitution, but I may be wrong. It was just a poor performance. The midfield, I think the midfield is dreadful. And yes, we're missing key midfield players, but the guys that step up to the plate are no good. And that's where we lost the game. You start with two holding midfielders. So already they're playing in a deep role. And there's such a big gap between the midfield and the front runners. The front runners are having to come back to get the ball all the time. So I thought that defensively for Milan, I thought they had a very easy evening, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in terms of the personnel that we selected, because you can pick that formation and not necessarily play with two holding midfielders. But because we came into it with Matic and McTominay, you don't really have a player that's going to progress the ball forward. Whereas if it was a McTominay and Pogba, or if it was a Matic and Pogba, that midfield has something else to think about. You can create an overload there. And that was the issue today. We didn't have that. What did you make of the Milan performance then? Are you worried in the second leg? Because today they didn't have Zlatan, they didn't have Çalhanoğlu, and they didn't have Theo Hernandez, who's one of their better defenders. Do we have an even bigger task in the second leg?
I think if those guys come back, we've got a much bigger task, because the problem for Milan is they weren't clinical in front of goal. They had a lot of good chances, they didn't take them. So but hopefully we'll have a couple of guys back. I don't know, because the game is not all that far away. And, a chap like Pogba, Van der Beek, they've been out for a long time. So I don't know what their level of fitness will be like. So yes, the second leg's going to be very difficult. But you just don't know what you're going to get with this team. You have no idea. We could go there and give them a thrashing. We could go there and get thrashed ourselves. I can't even venture a guess.
In terms of the positives then, let's look at Amad Diallo, because I think it's unfair on him if we just completely forget it, because he came on, obviously he's not had many chances so far. He's had brief little stints. What did you make of him in the 45 minutes we saw of him today?
Diallo for me is a very exciting prospect. I've watched him on MUTV playing for the under-23s. He looked terrific. And of course, this is a step up. And what I like about him, he's a wisp of a lad, but he's not scared to get stuck in. He gave away 3 or 4 free kicks, and he took that goal brilliantly. That was absolutely excellent. And I felt sorry for him at the end of the game, because, we'd be celebrating a great victory with a young prospect. And let's hope that this lad will go on to great things. I think he certainly has the potential to do so. And I would like to see more of him in the team, because he's that unknown quantity as he showed tonight. Great prospect.
Yeah, definitely really exciting to see what he can do. Do you think he'll be involved in the second leg?
Yes.
And in terms of his future involvement, would you like to see him involved more in the rotation, or do you think he still has a little bit more to learn? Because as you mentioned, he's playing a lot of academy football. What do you think in terms of that?
Yeah, look, if you look back in the history of the club, players, of course, Ronaldo springs to mind, got thrust into the team early on, and look what he went on to do. So, the old saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And he looks an exciting prospect. We certainly are crying out for a wide right player. He can play on both flanks, but they'll throw him in, give him a chance. I don't see why not. It's just he needs careful coaching with respect to the physicality of the game. That's where he needs to be managed carefully. But I would certainly utilize him in the side, definitely.
If there's anyone I trust to manage a young talent, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because we've seen what he's done with Mason Greenwood, how he was. His development was so well planned. I feel like that's one of the best timelines for a player being promoted through the ranks that I've seen of anyone. And today we saw Mason play some time in the number 9, and you mentioned you thought he had a bad game, but did you see a difference between when he was playing off the right for the majority of the first half to when he played in the middle in the second half? Did you see any difference?
Yes, I felt he was isolated a lot of the time. He'd get the ball and there was nobody to pass to. He's a great player, and I'm expecting great things of him. And for me, I would hope that he becomes our number 9 of the future, because he certainly has the potential to do so. He can beat a man. I think he's going through a bit of a lack of confidence at the moment, because last season he would pull the trigger whenever he'd had the chance. And that's something that I think it's almost trying to beat one player too many. But certainly, yes, I do notice a difference in him, whether he's played out wide or whether he's played down the middle.
Yep, definitely. And finally, before we say goodbye, what are you expecting from the second leg then? Because away goal, it's always tough to deal with. We've seen it before, and especially if the game ends up going to extra time, it can come back to bite us, really. Would you like to see us be a bit more cautious, or would you think go out there, cancel out the away goal straight away?
I'd just like us to see us start the game better. We start the game very, very slowly. The exception, of course, was Man City last week. But we start off so slowly and we look so tentative in the beginning of the game. So I think we're going to have to adopt a bit of a cautious approach in the initial phases. But we've got to go there, and we've either got to get a draw that's a higher score than 1-1 to go through, or we've got to win the game. So you've got to go there to try and win the game. And I'd like to see United maybe being a bit more adventurous. And I'd like to certainly see an improvement in the passing, particularly from the midfield personnel, who, quite frankly, I think are utterly dreadful. I don't think that Matic, Fred and McTominay would find a place in any of the top 10 teams in the Premier League.
Absolutely. Barry, thank you for joining us. Everyone, go follow Barry on Twitter and make sure to tune into All for United, because Barry is absolutely amazing. Thank you for coming on, Barry.
Thanks, Karthik. Take care, mate. All the best.
In a bit. Right, we've got 3 more guests. I'm forgetting how to count now. Bloody hell. We've got 3 more guests coming up, so make sure to stay tuned in. Also, we are 5 likes away from someone being entered into our prize draw, so make sure to hit that like button if you're watching right now and you want to win some prizes. Share this damn video and tell everyone to like it, and then we can get you involved in a prize draw. So make sure to get involved. Everyone in the comments, I can see you asking me about the Milan goal, and I know exactly who to ask about that, because he's the 2 times that I've had him on in the last couple of weeks, he's spoken about Dean Henderson. So I'm going to ask him in a minute. Here comes Harry Maguire. Connor, I'm going to start you on the Milan goal. Is it down to Dean Henderson, or is it down to the marking?
A bit of both. I have a quite sad, really. I've got a draft saved in my tweets about set pieces, because it seems like it's the same every week, and it's quite worrying to me that we've still not learned how to deal with set pieces, and that they are slightly different every time we concede one. But the bottom line is we're conceding far too many set pieces. I think we're actually the top of the leaderboard in terms of goals conceded from set pieces, so that's a bit of a worry. So poor defending. But in terms of Dean Henderson, quite simply, I think De Gea saves that. And it's why, although I've been saying over the last couple of weeks Henderson complements the team better, I still stand by De Gea as the better goalkeeper. And if Henderson is going to take that number 1 spot for next season, he's got to make those saves. De Gea, like I said, De Gea saves that, and then we undeservedly, in my opinion, get the 3 point, get the first leg win tonight. So if Henderson's going to take that spot, we've been talking over the last couple of weeks, this is a big chance for Henderson with De Gea being out. These kind of chances don't come around very often. And I think if he saves that tonight, after the performance he had against City, then we start to look at maybe Henderson can take us forward, and take that spot next season. But I think after today, obviously West Ham on Sunday, he's going to need a good game there. But I think a lot of people will still slide slightly more towards De Gea. And, the blame's not all on him. The header shouldn't have almost a free header like that anyway. But like I said, I think De Gea saves that, and Henderson's going to have to improve that. Have to improve his goalkeeping or his shot stopping in particular, I think, if he's going to challenge De Gea next season.
I was going to say, you started sounding like David Moyes then. To be a better goalkeeper, he needs to improve on his goalkeeping. In terms of the set piece thing, then, as a centre back, you'll be able to tell me. Why are we so bad at defending these set pieces?
I think there's a couple of things. I think communication clearly has cost us in a number of games. Everton immediately springs to mind. Southampton in the 96th minute as well, going back earlier in the season. And this one again, I think it's communication because, correct me if I'm wrong, we still play zonal marking a lot of the time, especially from corners. I've never been a fan of zonal marking anyway. It can work if you've got the personnel to deal with it. I don't think we have. There's still too many players that just... I'm not... Because you can have communication in the box, and I'm sure if you hear the audio, I'm sure they're all shouting at each other, but it's what you say to each other and whether that player has the intelligence to know what you're saying and react to it in that split-second moment. So there's a slight difference between just yelling at somebody for the sake of shouting and actually giving advice and that player being able to react to it in that moment. So I think that's definitely number one. And two, we just don't have the players to deal with it, in my opinion. I think the midfielders we've got that are usually in the defending the set pieces. I mean, it's every single game, I feel like our midfield is that poor that we look at every single team and we look, that midfielder would go into our team. And that speaks volumes in terms of how poor defensively we are, because every team we watch, we go, even though Milan were good tonight, we look at every other player and go, yeah, he's quite good, he'd go in our team. And we can't be having that. So I think it's a culmination of those two things, the right communication and the personnel to react in that split-second moment.
I've also got a bone to pick with you, right? You're meant to be a danger in the box. Why have you hardly scored any goals from corners and set pieces? What's your problem?
Oh, I hope the real Harry Maguire's as human as I am after that, though. I've got to be honest. I think it made me laugh how they tried to analyse it at half time. You know,
it was Robbie Savage. It was Robbie Savage trying to go, did the keeper get a touch to put him off? And then Robbie Savage then tried to defend Daniel James by saying, was there a defender there? But why is he making excuses? They were both terrible misses and they should have scored, shouldn't they?
Oh, 100%. Especially the Maguire one. That's harder to miss. I don't know how he's managed to shin that. I mean, you hit that anywhere and it's going in. Even you can hit that off the post and it's going in. I mean, that's harder to miss. The Dan James one, again, should score. I think on another day that does go in. The more frustrating thing with Maguire is the amount of... I mean, I don't know whether this is a Maguire thing or whether it's a refereeing thing, but how many fouls he gives away in the box when attacking set pieces in particular. I don't know whether that's... I mean, football's gone soft anyway, in my opinion, but you'd think he'd be able to adapt to that. And, you know, he should be scoring more goals. And like I said, he should have scored tonight, but he should be scoring more goals than set pieces for sure.
For definitely. And I mean, we've spoken about the defence a lot, and that's probably because you play in the defence. But in terms of the attack, did you think anything went well for us? I mean, what did you make of Ahmad? Because I'm going to ask everyone this question, but what did you make of him? Yeah,
I thought Ahmad was probably our better player. I don't think he probably was the best, to be honest. I don't think anyone had a good performance. I think it was a very good finish, and it's very difficult to do that. The kind of finish he did, like you've already mentioned about Hernandez a few years ago now, that kind of header. So it's a brilliant finish. I think we need to be careful not to get too carried away with him and try and, because I think he scored that goal tonight, and we've all seen his talent in the academy. I think a lot of people are now saying, right, just get him in a team. He needs to be playing every week, and we definitely shouldn't be doing that. I think that could, especially the way we're playing at the moment, could damage his confidence going forward. But he's definitely got the potential to be a great player, and he was definitely our brightest spark when he came on. It wasn't helped by the team performance, like we've already mentioned earlier in the show. He didn't really get too many opportunities after that goal. Just because of the way we were playing, we didn't create anything from a number of reasons. In my opinion, Bruno was playing almost like a second striker, and Greenwood was was going more central, especially in the first half, and leaving Wan-Bissaka isolated on the right-hand side, which we know happens. I disagree with what was said earlier about we missed Rashford and Pogba because we've played like this with those in the team. I think we miss players like them, especially in midfield. Like I've said earlier, we look at every other midfield in every match we play and say that they'd fit into our team. But we played like that with those players in the team. Crystal Palace was only last week, and that's no different to what we saw tonight, and Rashford was in that team. So I don't think it's necessarily that. it is the midfield. And like I said, when you've got Bruno that pretty much is playing as a second striker, particularly when Martial plays there, there's a huge gap between Matic, McTominay, and Bruno. And when Bruno's the only player that can create in the midfield, McTominay's not going to be the one to be playing those quick passes and driving forward. He has done it a little bit this season, and he was trying things tonight and not really coming off. But there's a huge gap between your main creative player because he's playing so far forward, and you're most of the time really slow, static midfield. So it was always going to be difficult to create chances just because of those reasons, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Finally, then, before we get going, what do you expect from the second leg? How would you approach it?
It's going to be difficult. I said in the preview, I think Ollie's now got a decision to make what to prioritise, because we're not going to be able to play a full-strength team against West Ham, go all out against Milan, and go all out against Leicester, in my opinion. I think the team looks shattered as it is. I think that City game did take a lot out of the players, which is why we looked a little bit leggy tonight in certain areas. So he's going to have to prioritise. I think it's going to be very tough, especially with that away goal. I think we should go through, and I think we will, but it's going to be a slog. I don't think we're going to go there and win 2-3-0. It's going to be a scrappy 1-2-1 kind of victory.
Oh, fair enough. Everyone, follow Connor on Twitter. Thanks for coming on, mate. Sorry, I meant Harry. Everyone follow Harry. And we'll see you soon. Cheers, mate.
Cool. Speak soon.
Right, we've got 2 more guests to go. We're getting close to the end of this show now. I know we have to keep talking about this terrible, terrible result. In the meantime, we are 1 like away from hitting our 25 like target. Now, 1 more like, and I will get you into a prize draw. How about that? I will stall it so that one of you can like the video because, be nice. Someone wants to win a prize. Let's do it. And I will look through the comments. We've got someone on Facebook here. Patrick, it was a handball before their attacker. Huge mistake by the ref. That is a good talking point. Maybe we'll ask the next guest about that question. Also, Patrick, get onto youtube.com/all4united. Come join us on YouTube. Again, whoever's watching, okay, we've hit 26 likes. There we go. I didn't even have to tell you. Right, 25 likes. We're going to get 5 more of you into our football town match. I'm going to ask one of my backstage people to note down the first 5 names that answer this question correctly. Let me just make sure I know the answer before I actually ask the question. Right, okay. Comments, tell me you're ready, and I will ask the question for you to get involved in our prize draw. The first 5 answers will be entered. So everyone, just drop a ready in the chat, and I'll know when to ask the question. Anyone? Comments? Hello? Comments? Come on, get involved. 1 question. First 5 answers will be entered into the prize draw. Let me just tweet it so everyone gets involved. Have all the comments just gone quiet? What's going on? Where is everyone? Do none of you want to win a prize? There we go. 3 people are ready. I'll get 1 more ready and we'll get going. Right, okay. I need to pull up my notes as well so I can write it, but I'm sure someone else is going to write it. Hang on. Dead air. This is just fantastic, isn't it? Great organization from me, I must say. But these are the duties that I have to do. Tweet the link out. Get as many people involved as I can, of course. Right, okay. The question for you all is, today, the score was 1-1. The Manchester United goal was scored by Amad Diallo. Who scored for AC Milan? Go. First 5 answers, you're entered. Any correct answers yet? Who scored AC Milan's equaliser today? If no one gets it, I'll drop a clue, but it should be easy enough, surely. It didn't happen that long ago, unfortunately. It happened very, very recently. No answers in the chat just yet. We've got 1. We've got an answer that sort of gives it away, but I'm not going to show it just yet. 2 answers. 3 more and I'll enter you in. Let's go. Come on. Yep, that's 4. 3, 4. I'm not allowing the other one. Sorry. No, that's 3. 2 more. 1 more. I think you've all got it at this point anyway. Right, okay. So your 5 winners are I mean, there is space for one more winner if you want to answer it now, but I'm going to reveal the answer anyway. Jarvis, you've got one. Fred, you've got another entry. Well done, mate. You're getting busy with these. Tyrone Williams, you've got another one. Sorry if I mispronounced this, but Samjana, is that how you pronounce it? Samjana, you're in as well. Hader, you're in. Not the Hader I'm thinking of. Let's not get involved in that talk again. And John, well done to all 5 of you. Wait, no, that was more than 5, wasn't it? Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that was 5. Okay, well done to you 5. You've been entered into our Football Town prize draw. Make sure you are subscribed to All for United. Otherwise, if you win the tournament, it's not a tournament. If you win the draw, you will not be given the prize if you're not subscribed. So make sure you are subscribed. We don't want you to miss out on a prize. And make sure to follow us on Twitter as well. Why not? Let's just throw that in there. Follow us on Twitter. Okay, let's bring in our next guest. He's waited very patiently. He's been busy writing a match report, I believe. And he's now available. It is James. James, immediate thoughts then. United didn't deserve a win there, did they?
No, not really. I think a win at the end. I'll put in the match report because I had to get it done by the whistle. So I assumed United were going to win 1-0, wrote it as such. And I was saying it was such an undeserved victory. A little bit of brilliance from Bruno and Ahmad has just overruled what was a completely dominant display by Milan. So yeah, in that sense, it was very disappointing. I think given the team we had out, we probably should have done better. The caliber of players when you really get down to it should have outweighed them. But yeah, I'll take nothing away from Milan. They were incredible on the night. Didn't expect that sort of performance, and it's definitely going to be a difficult second leg.
Yeah, you say that Milan were dominant and we didn't really deserve to win, but the fact is we had the lead. We had very easy chances to score. I mean, Maguire, I don't know how we didn't score. That's something that I do at Power League. There's the Daniel James miss. We had chances to make it a clearer win, didn't it? I mean, we could have won this quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think that was a nice thing to see as well. You usually see with his performances, we score a chance that we shouldn't have really scored from, given how likely it was, and we nick a victory. But it was nice to see that the few chances we did create were very high quality. I think, especially when you've got that sort of lack of creativity up front that we had today, given that it was only really Fernandes who was a creative player. Dan James and Greenwood aren't really that creative at all, are they? So I was quite pleased by that. Obviously not pleased that we're not putting them away, but it's a good sign nonetheless, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the positives, it's going to be Ahmad. That's the one I'm going to ask you about. Brought on at half-time because of a Martial injury. Now, we've seen that before, and that was Marcus Rashford in this same competition. What did you make of Ahmad? Because there's some people that are going to the complete extreme. I don't know who those people are, but they've said they don't know who Jadon Sancho is and they never wanted him. I don't know who that is, but, some fella on Twitter. And then there's the others that go, well, he's still only a kid and, he had one chance and he scored it. Did he really do anything else after that? Where do you sit in the middle of this, if you are in the middle?
I'm pretty much in the middle. I think you have to look at his performance as a whole. I think we've been told about this, Messi-esque dribbling ability that he gets, that he possesses even, and didn't really see him complete that many take-ons or link up too well with people. Obviously, take nothing away from him. The way he managed to get his head on that ball and guide it over Donnarumma, who's not the shortest of keepers at all. It deserves a lot of applause, and it shows composure way past his years. But I wasn't too impressed with his whole performance. I think the fact that he was given 45 minutes would indicate that he would have maybe put in something. His whole performance would have maybe been a little bit more memorable. But you got to factor in his age, haven't you? He's only 18. You can't expect him to set the world alight. And I think, given the circumstances, the way we set out to play as well didn't really help him at all. Very much on the back foot, and he's not a counter-attacking player, is he? So, I think all things considered, it was a good performance. It's definitely something to get excited about, but by no means the finished article. I do still think he could have maybe offered a little bit more going forward.
I want to also ask about some players that were rotated in. Now, in the lineup reaction on Twitter, I said I wasn't too optimistic about the McTominay-Matic thing, and Barry touched on it earlier on in terms of we probably chose the two wrong midfielders to play in a double pivot. Now, obviously, injuries and things like that have a part to play in it, but do you think that was one of the mistakes today?
Possibly. I think that the balance of that midfield should have been sort of in our favour. You saw with Fred and when Fred and Matic start together, it's two players who lack any sort of attacking prowess. So you put McTominay in there over Fred, and you should get a bit of attacking output. So I think on paper it probably wasn't the worst midfield we could have put out, but you can tell that they very rarely play together, McTominay and Matic. I think that chemistry between them wasn't quite there. I think Milan's midfield for large portions of the game just wiped the floor with them, especially with the mobility and power they had in there. Kessie had an incredible game, and that's just what he specialises in. So, you know, like they were saying in the commentary, I think a creative six wouldn't have gone amiss. Obviously, Pogba's a big absentee at the minute, and we feel that more and more every game. But, you know, I don't think a partnership of Fred and Matic would have done any better. And I think you couldn't really take Matic out of this lineup given how little he's playing in all the other competitions.
And another player who obviously was rotated in, not playing a lot of games, mostly due to the fact that the player he's come in to compete with has now matched the challenge, Alex Telles. Another performance where we think a few good things, but nothing really that makes you think, wow, what a player. What does he have to do to get into this team? Because Luke Shaw at the minute is up there, and Telles, as we know, is a fantastic player, but he's just not matching those levels at the minute, is he?
Yeah, so he was a bit like Ahmad in the sense that it wasn't a game that suited his playing style. I think he's very much a player who thrives on being on top, you know, getting a lot of crosses in and making himself a nuisance up front, but he was sort of pinned in his own half for most of the game. So I think that didn't really suit him. You know, his defensive ability is a weakness of his. And, you know, you say, how does he get into this team? I think he'd have to be the best left back in the league to get into this team, because that's the only way he could knock Luke Shaw off, because on form, Luke Shaw's undroppable, isn't he? So I think it would have been nice to have got a weaker team in this round, so we can see what Telles and what Ahmad do a little bit better. But, you know, it's not the end of the world at all. I think we know what sort of player Telles is, and we know, providing he stays here long enough, we will see the best of him. And I think, especially when you consider his price tag as well, it's very hard for Telles to come here and be a flop in that sense.
Yeah, and in terms of, again, I'm speaking to you about players that have rotated in. We saw Mason Greenwood play half the game on the right and half the game through the middle. You said before you think he will be a number 9, and most of our fans agree. Did you see a difference in his performance? Because Barry said he did think there was a difference, and I've seen a comment on Twitter that said, no, he wasn't any better than Martial. Where do you sit on that?
I don't think he was any better than Martial by any means. I think Martial still had something to offer in this game, but he definitely looks more comfortable in the midfield. I think not in the midfield, sorry, in the middle of the front three, because, you know, that's just what he's grown up doing. He's very good at picking up those little half spaces in between defenders and turning and shooting, and he's sort of devoid of that on the right. Obviously, his lack of real lightning pace and his lack of ability when taking on a man, it sort of comes through when on the right wing. So I think the busy nature of that number 9 position suited him, and we saw that he looked more comfortable in his link-up play. But again, it wasn't a game for him. We didn't have much of the ball at all. He was very much feeding off scraps.
And finally, the question I've been asking everyone: second leg away goal. It's going to be a tricky one, especially at the San Siro, where Milan are in good form. They are doing well in the league, and they're a hard team to score against. What kind of a game are you expecting? Do you see United going there to go and cancel out the away goal as soon as possible, or do you think they're going to take it easy, try and be a little bit more cautious? Because as we remember, Milan will have some key players back by then.
Yeah, I think you know, it should be a better game from United's half. From United's behalf, sorry, it felt like today the United spent a lot of time just figuring out what AC Milan were all about. I think they didn't quite know how to approach the game, whether Milan should be considered as one of these elite teams that we drop back on and counter, or whether Milan will come to defend and drop deep and we need to take the game to them. I think we were in a very weird grey area for a lot of that game. So I think Ole will have a better idea of what he's coming up against next time, and hopefully, you know, given the fact that it's in Milan's hands now, isn't it? You know, a 0-0 draw at the San Siro and they're through. So we need a goal. I think obviously Ole knows that, and I hope he approaches the game in a way that will get us goals, because we've seen when we back off against teams that maybe aren't considered the elite teams, you know, we've sort of been punished. You just got to look at RB Leipzig. While they're a quality team, they're probably not one of the best in Europe at the minute, and we sat off them when we played them in the Champions League, and we got battered for that first hour or so, didn't we? And I think he'll recognise that and hopefully approach the game in an attacking manner.
Hopefully, Ollie can do another madness away from home, which has got us this lead, and well, lead. I mean this record away from home. Anyway, hopefully he can carry it on. Cheers for coming on, mate. Everyone in the comments, go follow James. Is your match report anywhere possible to read?
Yes, it's on Twitter. So
There you go. Follow him there, and you'll get to go and read it. Cheers for coming on, mate, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers. See you in a bit.
We've got one more guest. Everyone, make sure to like the video as well to just to give me a little boost. Really, I'm feeling a bit down, so make sure maybe help me out a bit. There's one person watching on Facebook. I don't know what you're doing. Everyone else is in the party on YouTube. What are you doing sat on your own in Facebook? YouTube.com/AllForUnited. Get over here right now and join the party. Well, it's not really much of a party, but you know what I mean. Let's see what the comments are saying. Amad Diallo will do really well for Man United, but he's going to need time. I agree. 3 years' time, he'll be a big player for us. It's nice having a specialist right winger. He's still so young. I think we need a first teamer to fill the void. But don't know who you're talking about, mate. Don't know who you're talking about. Sorry. I know you're referring to someone, but I don't know who you're referring to. McTominay is better when he's allowed to get forward and join in. United need a top CDM in summer. In summer. Yeah, you're right. We do need a top CDM in summer. Totally disagree with what. You can't say that about the youngsters when they've not played in the first team. I'm sure they will be eventually, but for now the others are better. Who's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about Hannibal Mabry and Ghana. Yeah, no, I agree. You can't say that just out of anything. You've got to see how they fit into this first team and what they're doing in first team opportunities at this level. James Garner, of course, is doing fantastically in the Championship, but we've not seen him really have a real opportunity in this team other than the Astana game. So you can't really go with that. Fred, I don't know who that is, mate. I'm sorry. I don't know who you're referring to. I really don't. Anyway, our last guest has waited very patiently. He always does. On comes Stu. Stu, I hope that not many of the people that have already been on have stolen too many of your points. I'm sure they haven't. I'm sure you'll bring your own insight. But how disheartening ahead of that second leg is that away goal? Because to go into it with a clean sheet, with one goal a win that we probably didn't deserve, it would have been so much better to go into, wouldn't it? It feels like a defeat.
Yeah, I think actually before I start, I owe John Gray a shout out from the last show. So shout out to John Gray. Look, I tell you what you've seen today is a perfect European away performance from a very, very well drilled and put together side. And the worry for me is that AC Milan have come with probably 50% of their first team missing through injury, rather like we have. But when you look at our bench and look at our performance, when you measure it against what AC Milan did, we've had a bit of a lesson tonight. And I think Ollie and the coaching team are going to be having to scratch their heads. A lot of it does come down to players that have been shoehorned into positions. I tend to agree with everybody with regards to Matic and McTominay, but Ollie's only other option was Fred and Matic, or Fred and McTominay. So it is what it is. But they just couldn't get to grips with Kesse. I thought he was absolutely outstanding, Kesse. First time I've really seen him play, and I was really impressed with him. I like Mete alongside him.
Yeah.
And what happened was, I saw on Twitter people were having a right pop at Bruno, but probably what they didn't notice was that every time Bruno was close to getting the ball, either Kesse or Mete were on him. It was either one or the other. So, and they were passing in between each other all game. And that was tactical. And Ollie didn't do enough to recognise that at the beginning, or Bruno, to be fair, to give him the space that he needs to operate. But we've said on the show on many occasions that when McTominay and Fred or McTominay and Matic are in the side, Bruno gets starved of possession.
In terms of what you mentioned about the different midfield options, and you said Ollie's only other option was Fred, and you said that maybe they're not the best options to bring on at that time, and you also mentioned that Ollie probably should have changed it. Do you think United have too many of the similar type of midfielders? Because Matic, McTominay, and Fred, while they can do something in ball progression, they're all sort of similar roles, aren't they? Is that where we're lacking in midfield, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you speak about player intelligence. I speak about player intelligence all the time.
Mm.
Our perfect midfielder today, and I'm going to get slaughtered right now, would have been Fred, because he's got that energy, and he would have upset and disrupted Kessié and Mete. And that's what you need to do. When you've got somebody as powerful as Kessié, who's good at running, you need to just get in and amongst them. You know, commit the old professional foul, etc. You just got to disrupt that type of midfielder, and that's McTominay. It's not his game, and Matic is way too slow. There's a couple of occasions where Kessié and Mete just ran off him, and when you couple that with the live wire they had up front with Diaz, the little lads, he was
Liao, yeah.
he was just unbelievable. He's a nightmare to play against. For the likes of Maguire, because he's very static, and the likes of Bailly, who I don't know. I don't know what everybody else thought, but I thought he was substandard tonight, I'm afraid. I didn't think Wan-Bissaka had his best game, because I don't think him and Bailly combine that well on the right side of our defensive unit. And you've got real problems, and fair play to their gaffer, because he spotted our weaknesses and they've absolutely exploited it. I just thought from a European away performance, it was top draw. And what you're going to have in the second leg is Milan will totally dictate the play.
Yeah,
completely dictate the play, because it's for them now to lose, and we have got to go and cancel that goal as soon as we possibly can. Now there'll be a lot of people say, well, look, let's sit at it, sit in and see if we can hold them out. Because if Milan decide they want to get the early goal, they'll just shut up shop. So we've got to get that away goal, and we've got to give Milan something to think about on their own turf. Right now, everything's in their favour.
You mentioned the full-backs, and I wanted to ask you, because I've not really mentioned it today. Our best fullback was probably the one that we've got on loan, that's on loan at Milan at the minute, and that's Diogo Dalot. What did you make of his performance? Because I don't think a lot of people have really mentioned how good he was today.
Yeah, well, they flipped him to left back, I think, at the weekend. I think he's played there a couple of times, maybe, but I thought today was excellent. He gave Wan-Bissaka some extra to think about. Greenwood was off his game, wasn't defending as tight as he normally would do. Good crosser with his left foot, which we've noticed today. I hadn't seen that before in a United shirt. So, there are right-footed players that are good left-backing attacking options and can defend. But I thought Dalot was. He showed what he did. He's probably showed his potential that we bought a few years ago. He's quick. He's got a bit of skill about him, but he's always had that end product issue and his inconsistency. But he appears to just recently, over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks at Milan, he appears to have found a consistent piece of form. And I think we could have a better player on our hands if he comes back to us. Let's put it that way.
And finally, of course, I need to ask you about the positive that was today. Amad Diallo. I've asked everyone. I have to ask you as well. Again, he came on at halftime for Martial, who picked up a knock. Mason Greenwood then moves into the middle. Did you see a change in our front three? Any kind of change when Diallo came on, or when Mason Greenwood moved into the middle? Whatever you think was effective the most. What did you see?
So let's just deal with Diallo for the minute. Great goal, and I did tweet. It reminded me of the Chicharito header against Stoke. I thought it was a great goal. And didn't have a chance really to progress within the game. And a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of people I've heard have said, what a shame he won't get the headlines. I'm kind of glad that he's not going to get the headlines. He doesn't need the headlines. He needs to knuckle down and get on with his game. He's a fabulous prospect. I agree with Doc. I think he really is a fabulous prospect. It was a very difficult game to come and make any kind of impact because of the way that Milan was set up and the way that Milan were pressing. Because the bottom line is, with Milan, they came to score an away goal, and they were going to score an away goal, whatever. That was their game plan. And so it's encouraging that he was used. But again, if you look at the bench, Ollie had very little options. And that's a bit of a damning statement of our squad depth. That's pretty poor, really, and that's something that's got to be addressed. With regards to Mason Greenwood, I don't see him as a number 9 at all. I know he played there in the youth, and I know he's got a bag full of goals in the youth, but he's not a 6-yard box player. He will not get across a defender last ditch into the 6-yard and slide one in. He won't, position himself with his back to goal on the 6-yard line and swivel and score. He hasn't got that about him. You can play, anyone can play up front to a certain extent, but you have to have that ability. And I've mentioned this on many occasions. Cavani is the only one in our squad that has got the ability to sense something 2 or 3 seconds before it happens. He knows where the ball's going to drop within that area. And at the minute, Greenwood, he doesn't understand. And I saw him on his back foot on a couple of occasions in the first half when Martial got to the byline, tried to pull one back, and Greenwood was nowhere near where he should have been, which is on the 6-yard box. You've got to constantly, when you're a number 9, you've got to play. You've got to be good with your back to goal, and you've got to pressure the centre halves. You've got to make yourself a nuisance, because the centre half will just bully you otherwise. And that's my worry with Greenwood. My also problem I've got with him at the minute is there's something not right with the kid. He's lacking. I don't know what it is. Lacking confidence. He's not sure of his ability anymore. But there's just something not right with him. And I don't know what you think, Karthik, on that one. But to me, there's just something not right with him. There's a time in the first half where he was just on the corner of the 18-yard box and he shaped to shoot. Last year, he would have buried it, Karthik. He would have absolutely buried it. And you're a coach. And that would, for you, that would be worrying that a player of that ability and that confidence last year is certainly, it's drained, isn't it? And I don't know why. And at the minute, Karthik, we've got a problem with our front three.
Yeah, we really do. And I think one of the biggest points, we can make it every week in terms of that they're not getting the supply that they need to be getting. But I think points like you just made there, these are situations that Mason Greenwood usually shoots at. Never mind finishes. He usually shoots and he's not doing that anymore. Whether that's because of all the media stuff, I'm not sure.
Well, you could be right. Look, you could be right. I think we forget he's still a youngster. He's still a young lad. Sir Alex Ferguson always said you need the right people around you at the right time when playing for a club like Manchester United. And whether that's happening with Mason or not, I don't know. We're not privy to that. But he needs a goal. And sometimes you get one off your arse, you get one off your shoulder, you get whatever. As long as it goes in, it could kickstart a run of games that hopefully he'll come back to his best. But we've got West Ham Sunday. This Sunday, isn't it? Sunday evening. We've got West Ham Sunday evening. I think Ollie's got a decision to make in terms of what he does. If Rashford isn't quite ready, Cavani isn't quite ready, save them till we go to the San Siro. But it'll be interesting to see, actually. The team that Ollie picks on Sunday might just give us a clue on where he sees the rest of the season going in terms of what he wants to do with either, FA Cup, Premier League or whatever, or does he want to go for all three? So overall, I've got to give Milan credit. I have to give Milan credit. If you're a football purist and you enjoy football, you've got to take your hat off to them. It really was a good away performance. So, and it does pain me to say it, but it was.
Definitely. Stu, once again, you've been absolutely brilliant. Everyone, go follow Stu for more fantastic opinions. And, of course, make sure to tune into All for United because he'll be on here very, very often. Thank you for coming on,
Pleasure.
mate.
Thank you. Cheers, Karthik.
Right, final thoughts from me then. That was all our 5 guests. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to go follow all of them on Twitter. Make sure to follow All for United on Twitter as well. Final thoughts from me. Disappointed. We weren't amazing. We didn't deserve to win that game. We weren't convincing at all. We struggled on the ball, and something that I've said for weeks now is becoming more and more clear that we're not good enough on the ball. That's not a coaching thing. It's down to the players. We need to start looking at these players and go, hang on a minute, you are a professional footballer playing at the highest level. You don't need to be coached on how to move the ball quickly. That should be a thing you know how to do. Every player knows how to do it. we're complaining about consistency in the midfield and how quickly we're playing. Well, consistency comes with higher quality players. If they're not good enough, they're not going to be able to do that well enough. So we've got to stop looking at just the manager, just the coaching, because there are some things that managers don't have to coach at this level. What I'm talking about is grassroots level stuff. This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is stuff I'm coaching on a week-to-week basis. This isn't something that needs to be done in a professional setting. So why are we seeing it becoming a problem? The players' abilities. It can only go so far. So after a certain point, you've got to upgrade. We saw that today. Fred, as good as he is, as much as I love him, he's very limited. And we're seeing that in this season. Last season he was in great form. This season he's not carrying it over. Today we saw a player like Kessié, a player that I rate very, very highly. And I thought for a while that he could do a job for United. And today I saw that he does what Fred does, except so much better. That's just what you see. They both do similar things. They both do the similar role, but some players will just do it a little bit better, more consistently. Consistency comes with high-quality players, and that's the most important thing to take out of today. But this tie is not done yet. I was about to say that even at 1-0. So at 1-1, this tie is not over. We can very well go to the San Siro and get ourselves an away goal, cancel it out, and then go play for the win. We need to be of that confidence. We've overcome bigger leads than this. We've overcome better opposition than this, quite honestly. Yes, Milan will have many key players back by then, but we've got to be confident that whoever's out there, whoever they decide to put up against, even Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who is going to turn 40, by the way, we can deal with that. We need to go there with that confidence and maybe even start someone like an Amad Diallo, because I thought he did well when he came on. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very tricky tie because Milan are a tough side to beat. We saw that today. They played some fantastic stuff. And with some key players back, they are going to be a much tougher outfit. But United have to focus on themselves. I say this every bloody week. Focus on ourselves. Focus on correcting our own mistakes. Because at the minute, that's where all our failures come from. They come from our own mistakes. So let's go and correct those. But that's just my opinion. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you thought. Make sure to subscribe to All for United. Make sure to like the video as well. Make sure to give it a share while you're at it. And I will be back on Saturday for All for United Uncut, the best podcast on Manchester United YouTube. Oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. I'm going to cause some trouble. I'm just joking. You're not going to do that, are you? You're not going to go and spread that around, are you? No, you're not going to do that. Make sure to grab a drink and join us on Saturday. That'll be fun. And of course, I'll be back with post-match on Sunday for the West Ham game. So make sure to get involved. And in the meantime, don't worry. There's still a second leg to go. And you know what? The lead's not too difficult to overcome. And Europa League champions of the world is still on. Don't you worry. See you in a bit.